Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Reconstructing Cave Story. In this episode, we're going to be creating the projectile star particle. And let me just show you what that looks like. It's this particle that kind of explodes whenever a projectile is created and whenever it just kind of fizzles out into the middle of the air. I don't think this applies to all projectiles, but it applies to the polar star projectiles. Um, so yeah, what we're going to be doing is just implementing this particle effect. Like I said, it just appears when the projectile is created and when it destroys itself. And as a semi-sub problem, our animated sprite needs to know how many times it's looped through so that we know when to destroy the projectile or the particle effect. So we'll destroy it after it's looped one time. So we'll need to add a little bit to our animated sprite. And our solution is going to be just really simple, just using our caret sprite, which is this bitmap, and then it's going to be at x equals 0, tile y equals 3, width is 1 tile, and height is 1 tile, and then just these other frames per second and num frames. So there's 4 frames total, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it disappears. So yeah, that's all there is to it. Let's go ahead and create a class to hold this particle effect. So let's start by opening up a new file, call it projectile star particle.h. And it is going to be a particle, so we'll need to include particle.h, which means we'll need to implement update and draw, because we get those from the particle interface. And then one more thing we're going to need is a sprite. We'll also need a position. So we'll need a position. So this will be constant. We'll call it center x. We'll just say x and y. And then we'll also need an animated sprite. So let's include animated sprite. I'll just call this sprite because it's easier. So we'll need a constructor because sprite takes in a constructor, and we also need to initialize x and y. So what are we going to take in? A graphics for our animated sprite, and then an x and a y. Okay, so now let's implement a CC file and implement some of these. Projectile star particle.cc. We'll include projectile star. And then let's copy and paste these. Yay! For now, I'm going to have update just return true. We'll draw our sprite. Let's initialize it first. So let's start by initializing x and y. And then sprite will get graphics, k sprite name. So then there's k units tile to game, kx, source x, how about that? k source y, and k source width and height. All of them tile to game. Oops, no, not tile to game, tile to pixel. And then k FPS and k num frames. I think that's all we need. So let's implement these constants. So const sprite is going to be caret. K source x is going to be units of game. And that's, what did I say, 0? It's 0, and then y is 3. Width is 1, and height is 1. Let me just double check. Yeah, 0, 3, 1, 1, and then 18 for the FPS, so const units of FPS, k FPS is equal to 18, and frames, k num frames is equal to 4, right? Right, okay, cool. Units of frame, sorry. So that's happy now. So let's just draw our sprite. So we'll do sprite.draw. We'll also need to update our sprite, but we'll just pass in graphics and then our x and y. So yeah, just remember to update it too. The update doesn't take an elapsed time, so let's comment out this elapsed time. And I think we should be able to test it now. I'm going to build it, see if this is all compiling. Ooh, these should all be units of tile, my bad. Now we'll try building again. Okay, that looks better. So let's open up our game class and just get this drawing in the center of the screen. So let's start by including projectile star particle.h, and let's add one to our particle system. So particle system.add new particle boost shared pointer to particle, and give it a new particle. It's going to be a new projectile star particle. Giving it graphics, and then 320 by 240, because this is temporary, so I don't care what it is. And then this should be drawing in the center of the screen, and we can see what it looks like. Okay, yeah, there you go. We can see it now. And the next thing I wanted to do is to disappear after one iteration. So let's fix our animated sprite so that we can see how many iterations it's gone through. So this is going to be pretty trivial. I'll open up animated sprite and animated sprite.cc. Let's start in the H file. And let's just create a int num completed loops. And this will just be const, and let's just have it return a variable. And keep track of this variable. So let's remember to go to our constructor and initialize this to 0. And every time we reset back to the beginning, that is a completed loop. So let's, inside of here where we're setting current frame explicitly to 0, let's increment num completed loops. And that should do it. So now we can go back to our projectile star particle, and instead of just returning true, we can return whether the sprite's num completed loops is equal to 0, because once it's equal to 1, it's going to return false, or 2. Yeah. So it'll start out at 0, and you guys are probably going to miss this because I probably won't get it over here in time for you to see it. But I'll build and run anyway. I don't even think I saw it. Return num completed loops is equal to 0. Let's try not equal to 0. Let's see if that does anything. Yeah, it just disappears too quickly for me to see it. So let's try less than 10 so that we can see it. Yeah, there we go. That was about 10, probably. So yeah, I'm going to change it back to equal equals 0 now, and then we can, what can we do? Now we can put it inside of our, whenever we create a projectile, we'll use it. So let's go into our projectile, or polar star.h. We'll start there in our CC file. So where we want to create it is inside of this projectile right here. So anytime we create a projectile, we'll just create a projectile star particle. So I'm going to take in a particle tools reference. Forward declare it. Which means a couple things are going to have to change in polarstar.cc. Let's look for them. Yeah, here we're going to need to pass in a particle tools, so we'll need to take it in here in our startFire method. And pass it to our new projectiles. We'll go into here and adjust our projectile constructor so it'll take in a particle tools. Let's go ahead and create a particle while we're here. It's just going to be inside of the constructor. We will say particle tools. Actually, we can rip this out of our game CC. We will do that like that. Instead of particle tools, it'll be, or instead of particle system, it'll be particle tools dot system dot add new particle. And let's include this in our projectile star particle, which I'm taking from our game CC. And I'll just go to the top of our polar star CC and include it. I think we need to I think I forgot how I named it. Particle system.h. Particle tools? Oh, I do need to include particle system.h. Okay, so we'll include that too, right up here at the top. And that should fix that bug error. And then let's go polar star startFire takes in particle tools now. And then we're going to need to fix our player because that is who is calling startFire for our polar star. And I'm just sweeping through just to see if there are any red squigglies. Let's go to player.h and player.cc. Let's start in player.cc. Go to startFire. So right here, we need to pass in a particle tools. And that means we'll need to take it in. And we'll take it in here, startFire. And then in game CC, we'll need to pass it into the player. So let's grab our particle tools right here. And when we do start fire, we'll just pass in this particle tools. Yeah. So I should be able to build and run this and see it work. At least when it gets created. So let's see. Oh, whoops. I need to adjust these in Polar Star CC when we actually create the projectile star particle. We need to change these 320 and 240 to X and Y. Now it should appear where our bullet is being fired. Yes, I dig it, I dig it, I dig it. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is make it appear when our projectile disappears. So to do that, let's look at our projectile update method. So it's only going to happen when our offset has exceeded or equals our max offset, and it doesn't happen when alive is just set to false. So we're going to need to separate this. So if alive is, or if not alive, we'll return false. Otherwise, if this is true, we will, hold on, else, if this is true, we'll create a particle, return false, and then otherwise we'll return true. And so let's create this particle the same way we created it up here, just using the X and Y. We're going to need to use get X and get Y, I believe. So get X and get Y so that it includes the offset. So we'll need to take into our projectile update a particle tools. And make the same change in our polarstar.h. Update. And we'll need to make the same change in update projectiles. So we'll just include it there and then pass it in. Let's go back to our CC file and look at update projectiles. Where is that? Update projectiles right here inside of Polarstar. We'll take in a particle tools and then pass it into our update method. So passing in particle tools. And then we'll need to look in our player class and make sure to call update projectiles with our particle tools, which we should already have. Yes, we do. Sweet. So I'm going to build and run and make sure that, so we shouldn't see a particle effect when we hit the bat or when we hit the wall. So it'll just be when we are firing up into empty space. I think I messed with the logic a little too much. Let's look at Polarstar update. If not alive, return false. Else if offset, this should be greater than or equal to now. Yep, that was a mistake. Let's try that again. There we go. Look, it explodes. And then let's shoot the ground. We shouldn't see a projectile. Let's shoot the bat. We shouldn't see a projectile star particle effect. And so I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. And yeah, that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching, guys, and happy developing.